Hi, welcome to Todd's Tips. I'm Todd Barsness, a full-time voiceover talent, and Todd's Tips is a feature of VO Marketing Pro. Now, if you'd like more information about VO Marketing Pro or anything else related to voiceover, just visit our Facebook page, website, or contact us via email. The links are located here. So we've been doing, as part of Todd's Tips, do's and don'ts. These are my do's and don'ts. You have to take them and apply them or throw them out the window. It's whatever you want to do. But I just ask you to not get emotional about it, not just accept it, just say, oh, Todd does it, so it must work. But to think about it. Take a step back, think about it, and just apply it the best you can, because our post-process guy, Demand, audio-visual, he's putting the caveats that I always put on, always will, because I want you to make sure that you know that I'm 62 years old, going on 63. I've been in the business a long time. I have a certain background, a certain, thought pattern. I'm conservative financially. It's just also, I live in a small town. There's just lots of things that make me different than you probably. And so you have to take what I give you and apply it to your specific situation. But again, please don't just throw it out. Just do some thinking about it. So today, another do and don't. Today is a do, and it's continuing on one more time. This is the third. I do work through times of sickness. Part 3. I do work through times of sickness. The last two segments of Todd's Tips have had this same title, and I've stayed on the topic for good reason. When you make your living with your voice, and not just with your voice, like teaching or coaching or singing or being a customer service representative or even radio, when being just a little bit sick won't necessarily cause you to not be able to perform your job. I've given this illustration all the time. I won't bore you with a lot of it, but when I was in radio for 30 years, especially doing morning, if you had a little bit of a cold, you could always say, hey, I'm suffering just like you might be suffering right now. And because you're a personality, people go, oh yeah, he can identify with me. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not the way it is with voiceover. When you're a voiceover and your voice needs to be almost identical to your demos and links and past projects, then you can't afford to be voice sick, not regularly. And yet that happens. Even for the toughest, most careful voiceover talent who, as I said last time, your ears, nose, and throat specialist, even though you pay very close attention to it and do all the things that I talked about last time, you're going to get sick. You just are. You're going to get voice sick. So what to do when you're voice sick? Because I was just a few weeks ago and you were. That week, just so you know, if you don't remember, and this isn't bragging, it's just to tell you that I know what I'm talking about. That week I made $5,500 and I was voice sick. You could hear it in my voice. And it didn't sound good sometimes, but this is what I did. So 4 things. First, I try not to let my clients know that I'm sick. I try not. I try my best. I don't want to put something in their head or in their ears that they're now looking for. And I've just found over the years when you say, I'm sounding just a little bit sick. Oh yeah, we don't want to do that. Yeah, we can hear that. But when you don't do that, it just doesn't happen very often. It just doesn't. I think because you put something in their head or in their ears,
the bug in their ear, or whatever,
that they're all of a sudden on high alert. Second, if I'm voice sick, I try to get warmed up real good with vocal exercises, and I don't typically do vocal exercises. The only vocal exercises I do is get up, have some coffee, talk with mom. We go on a walk. You and I usually meet in the mornings and sit and chit chat, and that's my vocal exercises. But when I'm sick, I start humming. I get in the shower, get the steam going, warm liquids, vaporizer, neti pot, etc. And then I try to put my work off till mid-morning or maybe even early afternoon, depending on how sick, because it just sometimes takes longer to warm up and get the vocal cords cleared off. Third, matching audio can be tricky. When I do tons and tons of e-learning and training and projects where they come back and they say, hey, we made some revisions. Can you do this? Well, I was in good voice, and now all of a sudden I have a sick voice. What I do is most of the time it can be done, most of the time. But I go back to those first two things. Try not to let them know. If it really sounds differently, I try to just save it for later in the afternoon when I'm trying to match audio. Fourth, when all else fails, explain my sickness and send a sample to the client and wait to hear back for some feedback. That's what I do. And that's served me well over the years. Very, very rarely, I think I can count on one hand, and I'm thinking of 2 times where they've said, let's not record right now. We have time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it depends on the client too. If you have, and I'm not even saying a new client as opposed to an older client or an established client. Sometimes it just depends what the project is. Sometimes if I have a real Ford truck type, a Sam Elliott type read, your sickness can work for you because you have a deeper, lower voice at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if there's other things, maybe there's some things you've learned.
Those are things that you've talked about doing, especially. This doesn't have anything to do with my sickness. Now, I try to employ the same. I have told my clients before, I'm sick. My voice. Now, when I was sick back in January, I couldn't, so I had to tell them, hey, I'm sick.
Yeah.
But this last time I worked right through it and my voice wasn't as affected as much as yours was, but I made a purchase. I'm not going to go into detail because we're going to talk about that later, but I made a purchase and the audio quality was a little bit different. So Dad was helping me out with that to make it sound like it did before. And he said, don't say anything, just send it off. And, you listened to my audio and said, yeah, that sounds real close to what you had before. So I sent it off and now it's fine. It sounds basically just like what I did before. So that's another reason to, don't put a bug in their ear. Don't say, hey, I've changed my audio. What do you think? It sounds like you've changed your audio. Then they're listening, yeah. And then they've put it in their brain that I think I hear it's a little different just because you've said it. So anyway, I've heard you say things like that, and I see you doing a lot of this stuff. And like I mentioned last time, I probably do half of the things that you do, which isn't good because it's right in front of me. But maybe as I get a little bit older, I'll pay more attention and more busy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not that you're being dishonest with them. It's just that you're the professional, mm-hmm. and you have to make a determination. Is my voice sick enough to take a chance on telling them that I'm maybe a little sick, and then that puts a bug in their ear, or the opposite? Am I sick enough where, I maybe should come clean and just say, maybe, I don't want to send something that is just so poor quality that they're going, this guy, he doesn't hear that? Or what kind of a professional is he? So it's not always so clear cut. I can't tell you, do it on this day, but don't do it on this. I do know myself, and you have to learn yourself. And that's kind of, whether it's how to medicate yourself, neti pot, all these different things, know your own body or get to know your own body. And I know mine, and most of the time it works. But the biggest thing is pay close attention to your ears, nose, and throat, and do the types of things we said back in the second video, the last video we did on this. So next time we get together, I'm going to have another do or don't, and we're going to go, I'll just tell you heads up, I'm going to do this for a while, and we're going to tackle maybe some subjects. Maybe I'm going to say some things that might step on some people's toes. I don't mean to. I'm just going to tell you what I think.
Might need to be said.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing those again.
Thanks a lot for joining me for Todd's Tips. And if you'd like more information about VO Marketing Pro or anything else related to VO, the links are listed here.